This is an MDC-USA trailer. In fact, we have several of them around right now, and it's a beautiful day, and I thought we would talk about bringing more stability into your life. That's why we go camping, right? Get out there, reset, refresh, and you don't want your camper bouncing around underfoot while you're tromping around inside, looking for stuff, maybe cooking a meal, waking up in the morning, coming home from a hike. So let's talk about the stability jacks, the stabilizer jacks, and maybe we'll add to that a little bit about the jockey wheel on the front. So let's get started. We are now down where, I can't say the rubber meets the road, but let's talk about where this stability jack is and what it accomplishes. Now there's one of these on each of the four corners, and you're right, they do look more robust, more sturdy than many of the scissor style jacks that you find on your more typical roadworthy campers and whatnot. So let's talk about how this functions, and then maybe a little bit about the usage and the maintenance. So this functions by swinging down. It makes it really easy to set up and also to pack up your campsite when you're done. So to get this thing to rotate down, we're gonna pull this release handle right here. So I'm gonna pull that out. You notice I took a little bit of the pressure off. I don't know that you really need to, but it does seem to, with that little bit of friction off, just be a little bit more smooth. Here we go. Pull it, rotate it down. And I have a little tuft of grass to work over there. And you'll notice I still have some clearance here. That's not gonna help you one little bit in stability. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use this crank to add a bit of pressure. Now, I want to caution you, I want to remind you that a stability jack is not meant to be a raising jack or a leveling jack. You do the leveling separately from this process. So we've chalked our tires, and this needs to make positive contact with the ground, and we're just going to crank it down a little bit. Coming down, making contact, taking up a little bit of that squish from that tuft of grass, about a half turn there. Now it's down and it's sturdy. Now I would do this around all four corners, and I would pay attention to a few things. I do want to make sure that this is actually locked in place. We got this pretty near vertical, and that's really what you're aiming for. It is perfectly fine to have some angle out if the terrain requires it, but just know it is best used as vertical as you can get it. That means that that pressure is optimized all the way down and in the gearing components on the inside. If you have to go a little bit out, you can still stabilize your trailer very well, but it will add more pressure, more torque in the internals and along the tubing. So as up and down as you can get it, and just keep in mind that always this is not meant to level your trailer. Now, as far as putting it up, it's just reverse. You just raise this as much as you need to, pull that out, and put it back up. Makes it really easy overall. There is some maintenance that needs to take place on this, so I'm gonna bring the camera around, and we're gonna look at what you need to do to maintain this for years of use. I've brought you around to the other side of this stability jack, and you're gonna see a little black cap right here. Is that it? That's it. So from time to time, and I would say seasonal, that's when I like to do maintenance, is kind of the changing of the seasons. Use a small screwdriver, maybe pop that black cap off, and you're gonna find the gears that allow this to rotate up and down. Now those gears are where the friction is gonna take place in that movement, and it's also where a lot of the load is going to be bearing when you have pressure on these jacks. So what you're gonna wanna do is open that up and give it a visual inspection. And if you're in a place where you can kind of articulate it out, you can see how the gears look, and then while you're in there, use some appropriate grease. Just a dab, make sure it's all the way around in the teeth of those gears, again with your visual inspection, and then pop that cap back on to make sure no grit gets in there, because you will definitely feel grit if it starts getting into that mechanism. You might just inspect all of your connection points, make sure that there's no undue wear and whatnot. Now, one thing that I have heard, one thing that through research, is if you are going to use this jack and it is at a significant angle from vertical, if it's at a significant angle, that can put pressure on the pins of this handle right here. And it is possible if you're using them and you have too much weight on those pins, for them to get not just pressure and more friction on them, but maybe a little bit bent. And that is not due to the materials being failing or anything like that. It's because it's not being used as it's designed. So again, stabilizing jacks, not raising jacks, not leveling jacks. If you're at an angle, keep in mind that the pressure is adding up on those joints, if you will. It's a leverage thing. So it could bend those pins a little bit and make it hard to move this release. And there have been cases through the years where people have really overdone it and put a lot of pressure on these pins, and to pack up and leave, they've had to unbolt the jack and remove it that way. You don't want that to be you, so just keep that in mind. Use them as they're designed and engineered, and you're going to do well by yourself. Let's head on over to the Jockey wheel. Okay, let's talk about this Jockey wheel. I really like this because of how easy it is to get out of the way and to deploy, and it does give you some ability to align your trailer with your tow vehicle and whatnot pretty well. Now, before you do anything with this Jockey wheel, I really like to have my tires, my wheels chalked so that they aren't likely to do any rolling. I'm putting a wheel on the ground up here, relieving it of the friction and the connection of the tow vehicle. Without those chalked, there's always a case of maybe some movement that you are not expecting. So I like to have those wheels chalked before I mess with this at all. Okay, so you'll notice that it's on a system where it rotates out of the way. The same thing that I told you about that stability jack is going to be a pull out to release both sides of the pin, and it'll rotate up. The top obviously is the crank style. Now, where people get in trouble with this is they want to put this down and to push their trailer around maybe a significant amount. Obviously, when you're on smooth ground, maybe really smooth concrete and level concrete, that won't be such a big deal. It'll be much easier just because of friction and gravity working with you. You're on a more level situation. But if you're in a situation like this, where it's not really level here, and you might be working against gravity, and there's more bumps and features here, then this wheel was never really designed to do a whole lot of situating your trailer apart from the tow vehicle. So you want to get just as close to spot on your positioning with your tow vehicle, and then you're going to use this specifically to detach in a setting that is not perfectly smooth, or maybe your RV storage situation. Another thing that will get you in trouble here is if this is fully extended, then it may level the trailer, but if you're trying to move it when it's fully extended, then that's putting a lot of pressure all the way up the whole works. So this isn't greatly extended, but just imagine if it were fully extended and this tongue was way up here, then that would put a bowing kind of pressure on it, and that is not going to go well for your jack. It's going to kind of torque and bind in here potentially. If you do need to move this, even if you're on flat, level, smooth ground, the suggestion here is to go ahead and lower this as much as possible. That's going to protect this whole tube situation more against internal damage and things like that. So lower it all the way down. Maybe you can kind of bring it down. Let's see, wrong way, there we go. So we'll bring it down, and you can see that it's just a tube inside of a tube situation. So you would be matching basically these two, the thicknesses of these walls. It would allow for the leverage to play better in your favor for moving it. Again, it really isn't designed for large movements. It isn't designed for, hey, I'm gonna drop this off at the campsite and me and my buddies are gonna grab those grab handles that are on the trailer and we're going to turn this 90 degrees. That I would caution against that. But if you do need to move this at all, then I would lower it down to the bottom and just be mindful of the terrain you're on and the pressures that you're putting this through. You don't want to mess with this pin really at all unless you are connected to a supporting tow vehicle situation. You want to be connected so that the weight is transferred and you are safe. Other than that, it's pretty simple. and it's really the right tool for the job for this kind of trailer. Again, I am Clint from Princess Craft RV. This is an MDC-USA trailer. They are really well outfitted inside and out for comfort, but also if you look at the bones, if you look at the suspension, you look at the water capacity, you look at all the things that come with it, they're the real deal. You can get pretty far out there off the pavement. So, it's been a pleasure showing it to you. We'll see you next time.